Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Open Office Hours. I am Crystal Hinkle. I'm part of the team here at Syncro. I will let the ladies introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Tatiana. Happy Friday and welcome to Open Office Hours.
Hi everyone, I'm Brandy, also part of the team here at Syncro. It's nice to see everyone. Happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday, everyone. For those of you that are joining us today for the first time, welcome. This is Open Office Hours. This is really a place that you can ask whatever questions you have, and it doesn't matter what journey or where you're at in your journey with Synchro. So if you haven't even looked at the platform before, or if you've been using it for a year, it doesn't really matter. You can hop into these meetings, ask whatever questions you've been thinking out throughout the week. If it requires a screen share, these are really lovely places to do that just because we can show you right away. For those of you that are joining us that are returning guests, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you guys find these helpful. We love ending our week like this. It's like one of our favorite things. I am realizing that we're not working next Friday, so we don't have an open office hours next Friday, which makes me kind of sad. I was already thinking about this, but anyways, we love doing these, so thanks for joining us. Just to start out, what I kind of thought I would do, we've been kind of taking up like the first 5 minutes or so for a little bit of a deep dive into a specific feature or that sort of thing. And I thought we've talked about chat before. So we have Synchro chat. I wanted to kind of dive into it maybe from a different angle, not just from a feature perspective, but more of kind of like a business perspective and how Synchro chat could possibly bring you in more revenue and different ways to kind of go about thinking about ways to do that using other features that are also just right within Synchro. So I'm going to just start by sharing your screen, sharing my screen, and then as you think of questions, feel free to pop those into the Q&A as I'm talking too, and then we'll just dive right into those once I'm kind of done with this little spiel. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're just going to talk a little bit about chat just from the beginning. If you haven't seen chat, it's just a way for you to communicate with your end users, for your end users to communicate with you. There's a lot of nice feature functionality. So if you've got an open chat here, you can of course create a ticket from here. You can launch right into a Synchro live session. So this is one of those features that we released and then got a huge outpour of thank you. First, we got a lot of thank yous and we love this feature. And then we got, hey, how about, can we do this? Can we add this? And so adding Synchro Live straight to this panel was one of the things that was requested, which is super helpful because if someone is having questions, you can just in chat be like, hey, can I hop on a remote session? Yes, and you're there and you're off to the races. And then, of course, you can create a ticket from these chats. So this is where I'm going with this. Chat is a way to make it as easy as possible for your customers to get in touch with you and then vice versa. So we know that a lot of times our customers, like if they're having an issue, they're going to either email you or call you. That's kind of like the two things that normally happen. A lot of MSPs that I talk to, they're like, geez, I really wish that there was an easier way to get this information as quick as possible, because a lot of times they call, take a message, or leave a voicemail, and you don't get any of the information that you need. So this is a really quick and easy way to do that. And it occurred to me that, what you do on your side is enable this on a policy level for your customers to be able to see this. So for example, if I just launch into a Synchro live session, for those of you that maybe haven't seen this or have not, I think this isn't the device that's online. Let me go to a machine. Oh yeah, I used not the demo engineer one. Let me just go into a device that's online here really quickly. I wanted to just show you when you enable chat on a policy, what that looks like for your end user. So if I launch into a Synchro live session here, and I go into the remote desktop, connect here, if I use the little system tray icon, you'll see that your customers have the option for live chat. And this is where they can chat with you, initiate that. But what occurred to me the other day was that you might enable this on the device, but your end users, like if you don't tell them that chat is there, they won't know to use it. So I was just thinking about that and different ways that maybe you could notify your customers, hey, I've got a new way of handling things. I've got a new way that I want you to get in touch with me. And so using one of a few other tools that we have to just let your customers know, hey, this is how I'd like you to communicate. This is the best, most efficient, fastest way. Then what you could do is you could just send like a mass broadcast message, for example. So like if you selected a ton of your assets, you could send a broadcast message just explaining, hey, if you have any issues, please just click your system tray icon and start a chat. Like that's one way to notify. The other way, of course, is you could use Mailer, and you could send out a mass email, whether it's to a certain subset of customers. Maybe you don't want all of your customers using chat, or you only enable it on certain policies. So if that's the case, you could create a saved asset search based upon a policy, for example, and send a mass email out and say, hey, new order of business, the best way to get in touch with me is through chat. The other thing to note here, if this is the way that you would want your customers to communicate with you, there's a few other things that is just worth mentioning just to make sure that you're not missing anything. So last thing you want to do is tell your customers this is the best way to get a hold of me and then not be able to like know that a new chat came in. So in our notification center, depending on what group you're included in, you have these notification sets. So if this is going to be your primary method, making sure that all the bells and whistles go off when your customers are trying to communicate with you. So I just kind of wanted to talk through that maybe on more of like a business level and like decisions you make in regards to how your customers are getting in contact with you, how efficient that can be, and also making sure they know about it. That just kind of occurred to me that maybe your customers might not know about it unless you've initiated a chat. Of course, if anything happens or comes up, a ticket is created through like automated remediation or something, you can initiate a chat that way as well. So just a few things that I thought might be helpful. I have not been watching the Q&A. Were there questions that came up?
Yeah, it looks like someone has a question. Well, Matt did mention chat access in the app would be great. So definitely submitting that as a feature request. And then Randy said that he would like to add chat log to existing tickets. Haven't figured out how to do that though. Love the chat option.
Oh, I see. So like maybe a ticket was at a different time, not created from the chat, and you want to add it later. That makes sense.
Yep, that's how I understood that.
Cool. Okay, one thing I was just going to address because I see it first here in the Q&A, and then I'll let the ladies kind of start to handle the list that we've got going. From Earl, we have a few medical practices that we support. What is your stance on signing a BAA, HIPAA compliant requirement? All I can say is stand by. That's all I can say. Things are happening really, really quickly. So please keep an eye out on the announcements very, very soon. All right, take it away.
Super exciting. Thank you so much, Crystal. Okay, first question here is from Anonymous. They say, is there a way to limit credentials to a certain location and or connect or link them to a device? So go ahead and share my screen here real quick. There's a couple options that you do have with credentials. To answer your question directly or straight off the bat, there isn't a way to limit to a certain location or connect them to a device, but you do have the capability. If you wanted to, you could keep track of your credentials on the documentation tab within Synchro, so you could keep track of them there. You also have the capability, if you go over to your customers tab and you click into credentials here, you can keep track of them in this section as well. And then you can choose in both areas there to make them available via the customer portal to be visible by the customer and give them access that way, or just to keep them internal here as well. So that was the first question. And next one here is from Anthony. He says, can a script be run from the ticket screen? Would be great when reading a ticket's logs. If that script can quickly run without changing screens, that would be nice. So I have a quick suggestion for this one actually. If you go over to your customer's profile here, I'm gonna go ahead and just really quick create a brand new ticket. It's just gonna take me a couple seconds here. This is my favorite way to create a ticket because anywhere that you see this magnifying glass with next to the asset section, you can use that for a quick way to run a script. And if you use this magnifying glass to create a ticket, it will also automatically attach the asset here to that ticket. So it saves your text a couple of clicks. So I'm gonna just type in some quick information into this section here. We'll go ahead and create a ticket and I'll show you how you can run I believe the option should be there to run a script from a ticket. So if we're on the ticket section again, here's your endpoint that's attached here. You should be able to use the magnifying glass and then run a script straight from here. You can also label scripts as favorites for quick access right in this section as well. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Tatiana. I'll go ahead and grab a couple that are here. So someone's asking why, when creating a new client, you put a company information in and add the primary contact on that window. It doesn't create that user as a contact. Really good question. I'm happy to pass that along to the team. It does not auto create a contact. It's basically saying, hey, this is the main, this is the company information. I think that's the way it's looking at it rather than this is a particular contact. And then everyone else would be listed as the contact. So I'll pass that along to make that a little bit more automated there. And then Justin's asking, can you put a link, put a URL in the broadcast message that's clickable, like a blog article or video further detailing how to use chat? So really good question. I will go ahead and share my screen with you really quickly. I did test this and send a broadcast message. It's not a clickable link, just so that you're aware. I don't know if anyone knows a fancy way around this or can do something with that, but I was not able to create a broadcast message with a link in there. So sorry about that, but a really good one to pass along as well. And then I see another one. Eric is asking, when creating a ticket from an alert, can you import the alert log notes into the ticket? If the failure description is blank, nothing appears to get pulled over from the ticket. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen really quickly here and show you a couple things that you can do. So with your automated remediations, you could come in and say, you know, whatever, here's our famous example, but your RMM alert here, you can use our template tags down below. So if I want to convert this into a ticket, I can use the different template tags down here to make that appear into the ticket. So definitely want to use your template tags to gather as much information as possible. And then that should be visible. I'll also show you my alerts tab here. If I do want to come in and create a ticket, let's just see what's shown on here. Yeah, it looks like it just says whatever the alert is, but again, you could be more granular with that if you would like to. So hopefully that helps, really like automated remediations. Then the last one I'll go ahead and grab because I see that is good morning, best team in the world. Good morning, best group of MSPs in the world. Would you talk about the SMS feature and the cost associated? So you will receive 200 SMS messages per month, no matter which subscription of Synchro you're on. And then if you do wish to purchase more than that, for $30, you get 2,500. So hopefully that helps, and that can all be found in the admin section under the add-ons.
Super helpful. Thank you so much, Brandy. Next question here is from Anonymous. They say, is there a way to rename the Synchro MSP agent service on the devices? Currently, there is not a way to do that, to white label that as a service. So that is the question there. And then another one real quick I'll grab from William. He says, on the recurring invoices, is there a way to have the month in the billing, the month of the billing in the title? Right now, I just tested, I looked and saw to see if there was any tags that are available. And currently those aren't, you can't pull those in. So you could obviously manually type that in before it gets generated. But again, that would be just a quick edit from you there. And then the last one here from Anonymous is this might be a support issue, but tickets created from the alert pane is not copying over any data from the alert. I would, yes, please do reach out to our technical support team. Even if you're in an active trial within Synchro, our technical support team is phenomenal. They'll take great care of you. If you have any questions on functionality or if something isn't working the way you're expecting it to, don't hesitate to reach out. Our team is internal and are all here to see you succeed with Synchro. So you're going to get a response from someone who's really well trained, who cares about resolving your issue, and you're going to get a really good response. So yes, please do reach out to support on that one.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I'm going to grab a few. One from Brad. I have set up QuickBooks Online for invoices. When I create an invoice, the labor on the ticket is not getting assigned to the invoice with a price, and I also then don't know how to sync. Could you walk me through the process of invoicing parts and labor? So that might be like a full demo on its own, but I'm going to maybe just share just a few things that might help get you off and running. So first, I'm just going to go to products and services to start with. So once you've set up your integration, whether it's with QuickBooks, Xero, and QuickBooks can be desktop or online, you have this linked item here. And so one thing to make sure is that if you want this to run properly is just making sure that you link your products and services in Synchro to your products and services in QuickBooks. So if you don't have that set up, the sync is not going to work properly. But once you do have that all set up, and I'm wondering if did Brandy just put the, oh no, I was going to see if maybe one of the ladies, or I can do it in a sec. We'll put the knowledge base article on how to set that sync up. And then the other thing that's worth noting here too is that once that is properly set up, any invoice that you do create just automatically syncs that over to QuickBooks Desktop Online or Xero. And then as far as just making sure that those actual labor items get onto an invoice, maybe I could just take a really quick second, and there's a few settings here, and it really depends on how you bill. So this is going to be a very high level general answer here. So one thing to note, if you start tracking your time with the labor log, for example, there's multiple ways that you can add time to a ticket, but if you use the labor log, or then say you viewed the log and you were going to add time here, if this doesn't say like that time was actually charged, nothing is going to convert to an invoice. And so one way to make sure that you're going to have labor that converts to an invoice is using this add or view charges. And so you can see I've got my labor line item here, but this is also where you can add like parts from, or your inventory, for example. Parts is kind of a different module, so I'm going to steer clear of using that verbiage, but this is where you can add inventory items. So anything that's in this ticket line item screen is what is going to end up on an invoice, whether you make an invoice from here or have a reoccurring invoice that is adding any pending ticket charges. So again, the answer is there's a lot to that. So if you are new to Synchro and you have not received a product tour, reaching out to one of the three of us or whoever is your point of contact, because you do get assigned a specific one, please reach out and let us know, because we'd like to help you walk through that as well. And then just super quick, I like this. This is a noob question, but when scheduling scripts and updates, Windows or third party, does it run based upon the time of the Synchro device, or is it a preset time zone? It's the local time zone of that end user's device. So it's not it's their time zone of wherever the endpoint is.
Real quick too, I just want to chime in. For those of you, if we're skipping over your comment, it's just because it's a feature request, and we are absolutely taking all of those to our development team. We just want to make sure that everyone else has enough time to get their questions answered.
Super helpful. Thank you, Brandy. Quick question here from Anthony. He says, clarification, if the ticket is already created and you're looking at the ticket and then decide a script could fix the issue, would like to be able to run a script from existing ticket to your view, the one that you're already working on. So it would work in the same way. I'll share my screen real quick, because once you're on a ticket, whether you add that asset right away or if you add it kind of down the line when your ticket is already open, you have the capability on any ticket in here you would obviously need to add that asset first and then use that quick view modal in order to be able to quickly access it. So for example, if I was working on this ticket, I didn't have any asset attached, of course, there's no way to run a script from here, but you would just go to add existing. We'll search for, I think it's the demo machine. Obviously, you need to make sure that it's online, and then you would be able to use the magnifying glass real quick to run a script or choose from your favorites. So hopefully that helps to clarify that question there. Next one here is from, I lost it there. Anonymous says, when creating a recurring invoice for a client, if I can include a contract on the recurring invoice, do I also need to add an additional line item for the items contained in the contract? So I'll share my screen here real quick again, and I'll show you guys what he's referring to. So within contracts within Synchro, what these are used for is to specify per customer pricing. So when you're setting these up, for example, if you have a customer who's on an all-you-can-eat type of model, they're paying you a flat fee lump sum, whatever the amount is per month, and then you're not billing them anything on a per hour basis, but you're still looking to keep track of that time. That is where you would enter this contract price override at a $0 rate, and any line items for remote labor or on-site labor added to a ticket or to an invoice would come out at the $0 rate for the specific customer. Now, how contracts tie into your recurring invoices within Synchro, I'll show you. We'll access the recurring invoices section here. The purpose of connecting them that way is really to make sure that you are staying up to date on when your contract is about to expire. So when you initially set up your contract, you can set a start date and an end date. And when you're pulling in that contract into your recurring invoice, you can apply it here, and you can specify this box here that says create a ticket 1 month before the contract expires. So whether or not you pull it in this section on the recurring invoice, the contract will still be in effect as long as you have it set to apply to all tickets. Make sure that's selected. But beyond that, it's going to apply across all of the customer's tickets and invoices, whatever details that you specify there. And again, the purpose of tying it to a recurring invoice is just to be able to create a ticket 1 month before the contract expires. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Awesome, thank you. I've got quite a few in here, so I'll go ahead and grab a few. Charles is asking, is it possible when a new email comes into the system for it to create a ticket and not make any unknown senders a lead? So really good question. I'm just going to share my screen here. A couple things. So if you head over into the admin section and you scroll down to your mailboxes, and you want to edit your active mailbox, whichever one that is, I can come in here and I can say automatically create tickets from emails to this mailbox. Never, always, or only for existing customers. So you'll have the option here. You are also able to turn off the leads module if you want to do that. And then one more thing, I know we talk about this every week, but I promise someone every week learns from this. So if you go into edit a customer and toggle over to custom fields, if you add that domain, it'll also auto create a contact under this customer. So it's not going to create a lead for you. So hopefully that helps in terms of that question. Let me go ahead and, oh, I think it's gone. Okay, and then Seamus, I remember it's Seamus. Good to see you again. Sending files. I've recently found that uploading files to a remote client is limited to 100 megabytes. So any plans to increase this in the future? Not currently. I know this is something that there was some discussion on for a while, and I think they just decided that 100 was probably going to be best. We're happy to pass this along, though. Of course, I saw another comment about that too. So we're happy to pass that along. And then Justin is asking, is there any way to mass update custom fields on assets? So there's not, but I do want to show you a couple things that you can do in mass for assets. So if I were to select a group of devices here, you are able to run scripts. You can send broadcast messages. I could change the policy in mass, change a customer or the asset type, but unfortunately you're not able to change the custom field in mass. That's a really great scenario. So I'll absolutely pass that along too. And then I think, okay, there's two more in here. Sorry. Is there a way to use Synchro Live outside of the browser window? It is going to be browser based, so that will be the only way to use Synchro Live at this time. And then Neil is asking, can you clone contracts? So yes, you absolutely can. Again, I'll share my screen with you. If you pop open any contract, it's not going to show up on the right hand side like a lot of them are with recurring invoices, but if you actually open the contract, you'll be able to clone it up here at the top. So if I go into clone, it's just going to ask me which customer I want to add that for. Hopefully that helps.
Awesome, thank you. I was going to add one thing when it comes to mass updating custom fields. I just had a quick idea. So let me just share my screen really quickly. I'm going to hop back into this report in just 1 second. But what I wanted to show you is that our PowerShell module is pretty incredible. So you could, I don't script things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. But I did want to show you this because you probably all know far better the power of this, but you have script variables here. And these variables can be platform variables. And so you could go to that asset custom field, and then what you have the ability to do down here is set an asset field. So if it was like you were doing it in mass, you could create this script, run it in mass upon those assets that you want the custom field to be updated. So that's the only other way that I know how to do it. Not that I know how to write the script, I just know that it's possible.
Yes, and thank you, Crystal. Completely didn't even think about that. Randy said also that you can create a quick script just to update in mass. So
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Randy, too. Yeah, maybe Randy's a good reference if you need help to actually write the script. I was going to just grab a couple. I know we're going to get a little bit more clarification, but I just wanted to make sure we did see your questions regarding supporting a virtual school, which is really awesome with 200 plus Chromebooks. So I don't technically have a super awesome workaround for you when it comes to Chromebook management or Chrome extensions. But we're going to talk to the team. I just wanted you to know that we did see that question, and maybe if anyone else has any neat ideas they've done with any sort of Chrome extensions, let us know. And then what I was going to show just really quickly, I was on this report when I started. We have this new asset aging report. It's fairly new, and there's a couple things that make sense here. You can, of course, choose which customer that you want to run this against, run the report. What I like about this is that it is a report that you can save the report, so you can come back to it really easily. But this is something really cool to be able to send your customers, whether it's on a monthly or quarterly basis. And then what's great is that you can schedule it. So from here, if this was like a one-off thing, this makes sense. But you can also, like, just straight from this scheduling a report, you could select like all of your customers. You could add a ton of customers there that you want to send this to, and do that here, so that it is a scheduled report en masse to let them know, hey, you got a certain amount of machines that need updated. And this is like a hard-coded thing, so I don't think at this point you can edit like this breakdown as far as like what you would deem it's ready to be replaced. It's based upon certain time checks. But it is nice that you can get that scheduled and just let your users know that, hey, you got some devices that are out of date. So this can be really helpful and can really, really help generate additional revenue as well. I think I had like one last one in the queue that I put my name on, and it was from Alex, looking at coming to Synchro from ConnectWise. Yes, I think this is a feature request when it comes to reporting. It's basically visibility into the investment of the engineering hours plus cost of products versus total revenue, to give us an easy way to identify agreements trending less profitable than our goals. So right now, because we're super transparent, if you go to reports, you can get a lot of this information. It's just not in one packaged report. So like you can get, tech out, like you've got a lot of different employee tech hour reports and that kind of thing. You can export invoices to CSV and create and generate custom reports. Right now, that is a feature request when it comes to reports. Okay, I think I'm done now.
Awesome, super helpful. Thank you, Crystal. Next question here is from Manuel. He says, when adding a ticket to an invoice, can one define or default what gets added? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and answer his question. So first things first, a couple things. Within Synchro, you have the capability on a ticket to obviously add time to it. You can also choose whether you're billing for that time or not. So as you guys can see, I have 2 time entries in this ticket timer log. I'm gonna go ahead and clear one of them just to show you. So even though I have 2 time entries listed in here, I'm only billing for one of them. And so that is the only line item that's going to be listed here. So the reason that I'm showing that is, again, you can set by default whether you're charging all the time to the ticket or none of it. Right now, there isn't a way to specify if it's this labor type, then I want it to bill, or if it's for this customer or on a customer per customer basis, if that makes sense. So if you're looking to have it charged by default or not charged by default, you just go over to the admin section under the tickets preferences. It'll take you to the settings, and it'll be this button right here, ticket timer, charge time by default. So then what happens is once you do charge the time to the ticket, as you can see, I only have one of them listed here. When you either go to create a manual invoice, so just click add new invoice, type in the customer's name, you will see a list of all those pending ticket charges right in here. You can choose to add all, you'll see the ticket status right in here, or you can add them individually at this point as well. And you can do this entire setup I just showed you on an automated basis with our recurring invoices as well. You can just set up one, I called mine something super creative and original, monthly pending ticket charges, and then you can just click, it's literally just a click of a button. You can say, for this, if it's a break fix type of a customer, you can say, hey, I just want to add those pending ticket charges. That's all I want to do for this person. Update the schedule. And once the invoice gets created, it'll be sitting in your regular list of invoices for you to review and then either email from there or have it syncing to QuickBooks or Xero. So hopefully that answers that question. I had a couple other updates here as well. So first things first, someone did let me know that using the billing period range template tag can be added to a line item on the recurring invoices. So I don't think that'll work in the title, but I'll go ahead and drop that into the chat box just in case you guys needed to use that in a line item, and that would be added to every single invoice moving forward from there. And then the next one here too is from Randy, just a quick update on a previous question. He says you can via script change the description of Synchro services, just an FYI. So again, Randy might be your point of contact for that one because that is something new that I learned today. So
Randy is our guest speaker next week. Well, actually not next week because we won't be here, but sounds like we need to ask Randy our questions in secrecy before.
I love it. And then the last one I'll grab here too, just because it's right at the top. The question is, we use the customer contacts import template to import hundreds of additional contacts. Is there a way to link those to Synchro devices? So not yet. I will definitely pass that along as a feature request. I know there's some exciting changes coming to that portion of Synchro, so I will pass that along as well. Hopefully it helps.
You, me. I don't know. I think I grabbed, if we're going in order, I think I just grabbed this really quick. I have replaced hard drive and RAM on some machines. How soon will Synchro update that? Same thing when making a change to DNS. So this is a really good question. We get this often. Changes like that, as far as I know, it's on like the 6-hour thing.
Yeah.
Any sort of system change, and then most everything else updates within like 15 minutes, and of course scripts and online offline alerts, those are real time, but I'm fairly certain that's a 6-hour report.
Yeah, I just confirmed with the developers and they said that within 6 hours, so it could be 4. It just depends on where you are in that cycle. So yep, that's it. And then I see Anonymous is asking, if we enable to charge by default, will the contract override that setting if the time is included? So what the contract's going to do is, as long as the labor rate that you have selected on that particular contract. So I'm just actually going to share my screen to make sure it makes a little bit more sense. But on that particular contract, as long as whatever you're choosing in that particular ticket is for labor is one of the labor rates that is added onto that contract, it will pricing override and not charge. Now, if I was working in a ticket and for this customer and I had put project labor and I charged the time, this contract isn't going to override that because only remote labor and on-site labor are added into that. So hopefully that helps. But yes, the contract will absolutely, and two, I think this is an important piece, making sure that the contract applies to all tickets. So if for that customer you want these to override any time a ticket's created for this customer, then you'll want to do that. But a lot of people do ask about like project labor being separate charges other than the all-you-can-eat contract, and that's how you would handle that.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Next question here is from Chris. He says, is there a way to set up a scheduled recurring ticket? Yes, there is. I will show you how. If you go over to your admin section, and I usually just search for recurring, and this is where you can specify a recurring ticket. So if you need like a monthly maintenance schedule or something like that, you can specify those here. Next question is kind of an update to the previous ticket template tags and also what is able to be built to a ticket. So a quick update here from Randy. He says, if you have a service contract, you could set an exception to not charge for a specific labor type. So that is a really good distinction. I'll share my screen here real quick again with you guys. So in this section here, if you go over to your contracts, which I showed previously just very briefly, you do have, in addition to specifying your per customer pricing in this contract pricing section here, you also have this product block list. So for example, let's say this user, Larry's business is obviously a business. So I want to make sure that none of my technicians are going to bill him at any type of residential labor rate. So I can add that to the block list, or whatever services that you might not be wanting your techs to bill for to this customer, you can pop that into that section here. And then another follow-up question here is also from where did it go? Manuel says, I meant what gets pulled into the invoice for ticket work. So details like time range, date range, the different notes from ticket numbers, subject assistance, things like that. So yes, thank you for clarifying. I will show you how to set that up. So real quick, share my screen again. If you go over to your admin section, and then you go over to the tickets, ticket preferences, additional settings. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you have the ability here to customize your ticket timer charges text, as well as text for ticket charges. So in here, if you click these, and I'll pop this link into the chat box as well, this is where you can pull in additional ticket timer tags and regular ticket tags again. So if you're looking to add more information than what is currently being populated there, this is how you would do that. And again, it would populate into the ticket, and then once that is created into an invoice, it will pull in that information that way as well. So go ahead and share that link with you guys as well.
Awesome. My turn? I'm having a hard time keeping track of whose turn it is. These are really great questions, by the way. Keep them coming. Also, Seamus says, kudos, Randy, for getting my name right. And so I'm going to grab this.
It didn't happen the first time.
The question is there a real quick way to create a generic cash customer style ticket and generate an invoice for the same? So I think there's a lot of ways to probably handle this. Let me share my screen and give you a couple different options. Curious if you have a storefront, like if this person is standing right in front of you, or if they're brand new, if the customer's already created. I have so many questions, but I'm just going to start a few things here. One, any customer that you have already created. So let's say this is already created customer. Of course, from this new section, you could create an invoice without a ticket. It doesn't require a ticket. You could create a ticket from here. If the asset's already in the system, you can quickly create a ticket straight from the asset itself. But there's some other really cool things that I'm going to show you that might not be like known by a lot of folks that it even exists here in Synchro. So that's a couple things. The other thing worth noting is if you're in your ticket section here, you absolutely can create a ticket workflow that if you create a new ticket and you also have to create the customer at the same time, like you could create so new customer workflow. And then with the workflows that you find in your admin section, you could make this very, very generic. Like you could make most of the things not required, and it's a very quick, got the ticket created, convert it to an invoice. That's another way to really quickly do that. In addition to that, what I was mentioning is it's not like a super known thing. Not a lot of MSPs use a point of sale, but this is a really, really quick way. If someone walks in and says, you know, hey, I want to purchase this keyboard, whatever it might be, if you have like this set up, maybe they come in and they buy a mouse, like you can create an invoice just right on the fly here and accept payment. That's usually if someone's like standing right in front of you. Did I miss anything? Do you guys have any other ideas there? No? Cool. Okay, well, hopefully that helped, Seamus. If I didn't answer your question, you can kind of give me a little bit more direction on your specific use case.
Perfect. Thank you, Crystal. I see a question about, Charles said if you're just wanting to gather information faster than the 6-hour window, just to run a policy update. So I know we've talked about that pretty often. Anytime you go into the policy, it's going to automatically push a sync. So if you open the policy and you click edit and then you hit save, even if you do not change anything, it will push a sync. So you can do that. And then I also saw a question from Dor. Is there a way to schedule a broadcast message towards all customers' assets daily at a constant time? Unless this has been added. Has it? Okay, I knew it was coming. It was on the roadmap. Okay, Crystal, I'll let you share that then. I actually wasn't able to schedule one, so.
So it's not done straight from the broadcast message area. So right now what we've done is we've actually just added it into our PowerShell module. So
okay.
Send a broadcast. So it looks pretty like the broadcast message does, but it's done via that PowerShell module. So you head here. If you scroll down, you can see, I can't remember, okay, it's at the bottom. So send broadcast message, and then you just insert your title, the message, and that kind of thing. And then you can grab all of your computers or even put this on a policy level, because you can add scripts to a policy. So if this is like an all your customers type of thing, set it on a schedule, put it on a policy, done.
Or again, and I'm glad you said that because I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when, and I didn't want to have to spill the beans. Can I share my screen?
Of course.
Okay, perfect. So again, that becomes one of those places where you could come in, you could tell I was searching for it, but I could choose my list of devices. Again, if they're not on the same policy, I could choose that list of devices. I could come up to run a script, and then you could do it that way. You would be able to schedule it. And if you had that particular PowerShell module added into a script, then you'd be able to do it there. So thank you for that. I'm learning today too.
Love that. Awesome. Next question here is about an update to the contacts. So question here is, additionally to contacts import, we need to change 300 plus personal email domain emails, and we need to change the phone numbers to all the mobile phone numbers. If we upload when an updated CSV, will it update the contacts? Yes, so I'll share my screen here real quick and show where you can do that. But yes, within the contact section, if you tab over, if you click import, you should be able to use the template and then re-import that, and that should update the contacts. If you have any trouble with that, please do reach out to our technical support team. And again, I will pass along the request to be able to tie those to contacts or to assets as well. So that is the one at the top that I had. And then another one actually, since it looks like we're checking on another question here, is from Randy. He said, I'd like a method to automate changing status based on conditions. Like if I start a timer to be able to change it to in progress. Any ideas? So I'll share my screen here. I know specifically ticket automations would probably be the best place to look for something like that. I don't think right now we have a way to pull in whether or not a ticket timer has been initiated, if that makes sense. So for example, I'll show you, if you go over again to the admin section under tickets, ticket automations, there are a ton of other conditions you can set. Again, not for that specific example. Again, I'll pass that along as a feature request, but oops, let me go back into here. So you could, for example, say if this customer is this ticket subject or the ticket type or hours and till due date is 4, and they also have an SLA, then I need to update whoever the assigned tech is and give them a reminder. But right now, I don't think there's a way to pull in a condition that will say, you know, once the ticket timer has started, now switch the status to in progress or something like that. So pass that along.
Awesome, thank you. I did get an answer for Anonymous had asked for the asset aging report. What are the build dates based from? I have several devices that are stating October 2018, whereas I know the machines were purchased in March 2019. So we did ask our support team, and I'll be transparent, this isn't a for sure, but I did get a response that they believe it's in reference to the Windows, not the construction date of the machine. So if we get further clarification on that, we'll let you know.
Okay, I'm going to grab a few. I know from testing that variables work in canned responses. Yes, they do. But is there a list shown while editing? Can it be confirmed if all ticket variables, etc., work in canned responses? I'm not sure if I can confirm that all of them work, and I think that you're spot on, that it would be really cool if they were just listed right there in canned responses. So let me share my screen here just really quickly. So I just want to double check, and for all of you that maybe are not using canned responses right at this time, just letting you know, if you go to tickets, you can create canned responses here, and variables do work. And so I think the question is, like, if you're creating this body, like having a list of those tags right there. I know that you can get there, like you could grab, and this is a total workaround, and adding it to that page makes a ton of sense. But if you go to like PDF and email templates, for example, if you go to your ticket template, you'll see them on the right hand side if you go to edit. So I know a lot of the users, I've talked to people that just essentially like keep this up and copy paste. Not ideal. I want to add it to canned responses, so that makes a lot of sense. I think I grabbed a few other, Justin. Yeah, so our account, you can see things before things are shipped, or when dev is testing things. And so yes, regarding variables, I have no knowledge of additional variables at this time, and that will be my stance.
That happened to me on a demo. Like one night it was not there, and the next day I'm like, oh, and you know, when you see it for the first time, it's hard to not have a reaction. And I'm like, what is this?
Out of it so fast, or like I thought I was clicking out of it really fast, but I guess I didn't. Then the other one I was just going to grab super quick. Randy wants to know, are we able to import assets yet? I need this feature. Zapier would be fine. So couple things. If they're like custom assets, meaning not something that has an agent installed on them, we actually have an asset import tool that the technical support team uses, that they can just send you the template. It's a CSV file. You can populate it, send it back. They'll import your assets. Again, these are for things that do not have an agent installed. We are, of course, working on ways, whether it's a probe or however that looks, network discovery, we are working on a way to do that without having any sort of third-party tool. But when it comes to assets that are not managed, we can do that already. Just reach out to technical support.
A question here regarding the canned responses. I'll share my screen real quick, and this is going to be a feature request. So I'll share real quick. In this section here, if you go over to your admin section and you search for canned responses, right now there isn't a way to upload them in bulk, but I will definitely pass that along. I'll also grab some of these right at the top of our list. Question from Anonymous. They are asking, is performing registry checks on the roadmap? I apologize. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, awesome. Did you hear anything I said about canned responses?
Like just the very, very beginning of it.
Oh. Well, if you're watching a recording of this down the road, just skip forward like 5 seconds. Sorry. So what I was trying to say was for canned responses, yes, you do have the ability to build them. There is not a way to import them in bulk. I'll pass that along as a feature request. So if you search in the admin section for canned responses, there isn't a way to bulk update via CSV. The other question here was about performing registry checks if that is on the roadmap. And yes, I did get a confirmation that they are coming. The estimated timeline is soon. So
Love
that
it.
helps. Then last question here that I'll grab is from Chris. He says, can you create subsites for customers? Yes, you can. I will show you how. If you go over to your customer profile, and let me clean up my tab situation here. On the customer profile, you have the ability to create additional sites and addresses. So if you go here, scroll down, it's kind of towards the bottom. And so you can list those here, as many, I think, as you need. And what's helpful with these two is once you do create those additional sites and addresses, you can then assign them to the actual assets within the assets and RMM section. You can list those here. You'll have this new column here, and you can list those that way. You can also search by site if you need to. If you search here, that will be listed there as well. And the last thing I'll mention too, specifically when people bring up multiple sites and addresses, I would recommend if you're billing each site separately to build them as a separate customer. And if you're billing them all to one main address, then you could leave them all in the same customer profile. Just like to make sure that people are kind of aware of that, because that's usually a follow-up question to that.
Awesome. I see a couple in here. So do we have a place to see what features have been requested and where one can vote for the feature? Not currently. I think they are working on something externally just for you to be able to see what features are being requested. I'm not sure if there's a vote feature or anything going to be added to that, but currently our roadmap is not open to the public. And then Alex is asking, does Synchro support SAML identity providers? Not currently supported at this time. Sorry about that.
Quick update or quick question here from William. He says, how can we get email notification when a ticket is created from a contact form? Go ahead and share my screen here real quick. If you guys aren't aware, you do have an entire notification center within Synchro. I did double check. There isn't a way to specify a notification to come through if the ticket was created from the agent contact form on that granular of a level. But if you do go over to the notification center, you can build as many of these as you need, group your technicians, or have it one by one that way. And I searched for tickets in here, and again, there isn't a way to specify that a ticket has been created from the agent contact form, so I can pass that along. But obviously you do have all the rest of these options that are available currently.
Awesome, thank you. I'll grab a few here. Russell wants to know, can you do an advanced payment or down payment using the point of sale? I believe if you do that, essentially what it'll do is create like a credit for that customer that like you could then apply to an invoice that you create later. But you can take partial payments on any invoice. So you could create the main invoice and then just take a down payment on it. So I think there's a few ways you can do that. If anyone else has some input there, I actually don't think I've heard a lot about people using the point of sale to do that, but I think it's probably possible. It'll just create a credit for that customer. Let's see. The next question is, we have Datto BCDR appliances at our customers. Is there a way to pull in the status of the backups, either through a ticket or an alert? So not knowing a ton of detail about this or how those backups alert now to you, but if you do already get those alerts via email, you can just funnel those in through mailboxes. And so one way to do that, just to kind of keep things a little bit cleaner, I guess, is if you do go to your mailbox, you could create a mailbox specifically for the Datto backups. And so you could create your own that was a specific email address, and then you can choose like how you want Synchro to respond to those depending on what they are. And what's kind of nice about this too is that usually those emails come in with the same subject usually, and or you can define what the subject is, or if it has the customer name. And so then you can use email rules, you can use ticket automations to kind of do some neat things with that as well. So I think as far as bringing those alerts in from Datto, that's kind of the best way to handle that now. Neil wants to know, is there any way to freeze tickets depending on statuses? So it kind of depends on your meaning of freeze, but I do want to show you, it's not going to freeze the time to resolution. I want to specify that. That's on the list to update with service level agreements. But you can pause a service level agreement timer, meaning you wouldn't breach a contract if it was in a certain status. So you can create a service level agreement, pause countdown for specific statuses. So, and those statuses are customizable. So you can absolutely do this. This correlates to the SLA timer only, not the time to resolution just yet, but I know that that's on the way. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. 2 quick updates here. Anonymous asked, how often are Windows event logs checked on the agent? Answer is every 15 minutes, so pretty quickly. Also, 2 requests from Randy and from Justin. Can we add credentials by asset? Not yet. I'll pass that along for you.
Awesome. And Anonymous is asking for third-party patching. Are we using the open source version of Chocolatey or a paid version? It is open source, so I would recommend doing research on the Chocolatey side, but it will be pulling from all available apps. And I think there's like 7,600 the last time I checked. There's a follow-up on that. Does the do not install act as an uninstall? It does not act as uninstall. Nope, it will just mean do not install it, basically.
I was also going to add in regarding the Datto backups. Randy gave some advice that Datto possibly adds this to the event log. And of course, you could then create an alert via the event log and not have to deal with any sort of email or anything like that, which is a great idea. Let's see what else.
Chris asked if there's a way to have separate alerts for servers or some PCs if there are offline. So you could do that if you did it in the policies, like if your servers and workstations are in different policies, you can have your agent offline notifications. If that's what you're referring to, you can absolutely have different alerts for that. There's also actually, let me just share my screen real quick and I'll just go through this since we've got a couple minutes. I'll be quick. So if I go into my automated remediations 2, what I'm able to do is, I believe the trigger, let me just add a condition, trigger category, agent offline. Here we go. I can define it even further and say, let's just see, all servers, workstations, whatever it is that you want to do, then you'd be able to have different notifications that way. So hopefully that helps.
I think this top one here from Neil, Crystal, is a follow-up to your question on if they can accept like a down payment. You can create a deposit when you create a ticket. So thank you for that update, Neil. Super helpful.
Charles is asking, is it possible to schedule a private review of our Synchro setup to ensure we are doing things the best possible way? Not with Synchro directly, just because we're not MSPs, so we can definitely help while you're exploring the platform and seeing if it's the best fit for you. But when it comes down to seeing if you're, utilizing the platform to your fullest, I do know that there's some people in the Facebook group, they're in no way associated with Synchro, but that have offered help and assistance in setup and kind of reviewing your platform. So you could reach out to someone in the Facebook group. I know a lot of you in this open office hours or in that Facebook group. I recognize a lot of names from those posts.
Yeah, it's a great resource. You have a ton of people in there that have been using Synchro for years, and they are like a wealth of knowledge too.
I love it too, because even if, there's a lot of people in there that have been using Synchro for years. There's people who have just signed up. There's people in a trial. There's people who are using other platforms and they're holding on for a certain feature or something like that. It's a really great place to get like very honest answers. And I think it's a great place to connect with people who have used other, just since there's no questions right now, who are coming from the same background or the same platform that you guys have maybe been coming from. And they can help you like, hey, it might be called this and I might do it this way in another platform, but how do you do that in Synchro? Because chances are you can do it. It's just going to be done a little bit differently. So I think that's a good place to say, hey, I used to do this in ConnectWise or Ninja or whatever it is. How are you guys doing that in Synchro? So it's a really good place to, even if you don't like Facebook, get one of your techs in that group.
Yep, I totally agree. Well, today was so fun. A lot of amazing questions. I think we mentioned this prior, but we do record these. These are posted usually same day in our YouTube channel. So all of the other ones are also there. So if you're brand new, you've got some other content you can check out on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful, safe weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.